we've got Malcolm Turnbull and Bill Shorten both coming up with their plans to reduce the black hole that you keep waving at me.
Don't let me forget.
No, we're not gonna, you're not going to let anybody forget.
Well,
so which is the best plan? Look, actually, let's hear from Bill Shorten first. He was at the press club today. Let's hear what Bill had to say.
My message to the Prime Minister is simple. Have the courage to lead your party. Be big enough to stand up and say what you really think. So these are good policies that will help the budget. Let's put the campaign aside and adopt them. Recognise this is fair income overdue fiscal repair that is both urgent and achievable in the 45th Parliament.
Well, what's wrong with that?
I mean, how delusional is this guy?
What, you don't agree with him?
He's just lost the election. I mean, he didn't win it, he lost the election. The government of the day is entitled to put forward the promises that it made to the Australian people. So what does Bill say? He says, oh, forget about everything that, you put to the Australian people, whether it's superannuation or this or that. Oh, no, just drop the whole lot and pick up the Labor Party's policy. As if...
But you'd be attacking him if he wasn't doing something positive and constructive, and he is.
There's nothing...
He's saying, here's a plan.
No, mate, his plan is sabotage. No, seriously, this is a very important issue.
I agree.
You and I have both been in governments which have had difficult issues to pursue.
That's true.
And they've won elections, and in the past, as a general proposition, not on every last dollar, I'd have to say, but all the same, I can remember when it was generally accepted that if you've won the election, you're entitled to pursue the promises that you made. Now, Bill, he still today has not stood up and said, well, yes, there was $6.5 billion worth of savings, which Labor had supported during the election, and yet today he's still not prepared to say that he will vote for them.
Well, all he's saying, though, is that he wants to see the legislation. That's fair enough. You can't give a... You wouldn't give a blank cheque. When did you give a blank cheque?
Listen...
If you want to give me a blank cheque, you can give me a blank cheque. You don't give anyone a blank cheque.
We don't have blank cheques. We have black holes. And, no, but seriously, if he was fair income, look, he'd be entitled to say... look, we support in principle the things that we said in the government, in the election, and subject to being able to read it and look at the stuff, we'll support it. But he's not playing that game. He's playing another game. His game is, he turns up at the press club today and, look, I've got my set of policies. They're not going to happen.
But one thing you and I do agree on, there has to be a serious plan to tackle the deficit and the debt.
Well,
it clearly has to be. You can't keep increasing the debt by $1 billion a month. You just can't do it.
Well, that's what the Labor Party gave us.
All right.
And put us in the problem we got today.
But now we've got to fix it together. All right, well, let's talk about one other issue. You were chewing my ear about Stephen Conroy earlier. Let's hear what the Prime Minister had to say about that.
The Australian Federal Police act independently of government. I've been very disappointed, not for the first time, to hear Senator Conroy this morning attack the integrity of the Australian Federal Police. He's accused the Australian Federal Police of acting under political direction, which is an outrageous suggestion. He knows that's untrue. And he even went so far as to say they were acting illegally.
Yeah. But isn't he entitled to get a little bit cranky? If you got raided by the Federal Police, wouldn't you be a little cranky? Well, if you're Stephen Conroy, you wouldn't be excited, would you?
Excuse me, this is not the issue.
So what's the issue?
Well, because the Senator, Conroy, has suggested that there has been political interference. Now, that is simply not the case, as the Prime Minister said in very subdued tones, I thought, because he could have been... He had a good reason to be very pissed off. Oh, excuse the French.
I thought, yes, well, I'm not used to such language.
Well, there you go. But, I mean, that's not right to go around saying that, because if to some degree, admittedly, with some limitations, the fact is we have a very good AFP. They do their job, and it's wrong to go around saying, there's some question as to whether
let's agree on this. We do have a good Australian Federal Police.
We certainly do.
I don't disagree. Let's talk to Senator Hanson. So, Pauline, welcome to the show. It's great to have you. Again, congratulations on your election. So how's the first education campaign I see you were at yesterday? How did that go?
Well, it's been over yesterday and today, and also have tomorrow. So it's been very, very, very good, very informative, and it's been wonderful. Listen, can I just say, I've been listening to the pair of you, right? Peter Beattie, okay, you've been Premier of the State of Queensland.
I have.
Reith, you've been a Minister in the Parliament. And you're both going on here. No wonder the people are fed up with both the major political parties. You're actually, what you're going on about, people are fed up with what you're saying. And the major political parties today. That's why they need me.
Well, that's why they voted for you. That's why they voted for you.
Exactly right, Peter. You're talking about the black hole, all right? And even Bill Shorten now is going back on his promises, what he said. Now, the Prime Minister also needs to be pulled into line, and the Liberal Party. We can't keep spending all the time. People want job security. They want to know that Australia is for Australians, and this is what it's all about.
Well,
so my being in the Senate is actually going to say, hey, let's have some truth, honesty, accountability.
And that's why, Pauline, you've got such a support. Let me ask you this. Peter and I got some questions we want to ask, but let me start with this. In Queensland, you've got something like, according to the polls, 16% of the primary vote. I understand in the next state election you're going to run candidates, I understand, in most seats.
Yes.
You will, in fact, most likely, because there's now preferential voting, you're most likely to determine who governs in Queensland next time round. So how are you going to determine what happens with preferences? I know you would never have given them to me when I was leader of the Labor Party, and let's not go down that road. But what would you do? Or how are you going to determine what you do with your preferences? Because you will determine who governs Queensland.
Peter, let me make it quite clear to the voters. Preferences belong to the voters, not the political parties. So when you come to vote, yes, you have to fill out every square on the voting ticket. But I'm telling voters, who is your best choice? Give them the number one. If they don't get in, who's your next best choice? Then give them your number two, and you go down the ticket in that way. How to vote tickets put out by political parties or candidates are only a recommendation. I want to educate the people of Queensland that they own their vote, not the political parties.
So
but
you won't have
Sorry,
go on. Sorry.
Oh, no, hang on a minute.
Yeah, go on. You finish.
Both of you, your political parties, the Liberal, the Labor and the Nationals, have never done me any favours.
We put you last.
Lied, you cheated. Yeah, exactly right.
Put you last, yes, we did.
And you've given me words, and the Liberal Party and the Nationals have given me words to swap preferences, and you never have. So if that be the case, if you're not prepared to actually stand up and do, if we were to swap preferences and advise the voters where we think is the best way, I'll be telling you now, every sitting member in Queensland on my how to vote tickets will be put last. And that will be my recommendation to the Queensland voters. But I hope that they actually understand that I truly want to see Queensland prosper. I want to see Great Keppel Island go ahead with the resort. I want to see Cairns go ahead with the dredging of the port, and I want to see the tourism happening in Australia. I want to see the mining continue because that's jobs. I don't want to see it shut down by the Greens. We've got so much potential in Queensland, but both political parties are shutting it down. And I will do what's right for the people.
So in other words, your how to vote card, you'll be recommending that the sitting member, he be put last or she be put last in your recommendations.
That's correct, unless if there is a member of Parliament that I believe they have done the right thing for their constituency, and I won't be standing as candidates in every seat. And if I believe they've done the right thing for the constituency, they will get my support. Because it's all about representing the people of Queensland.
Okay, fair enough.
Well, Senator, you've come out, getting stuck into the two of us. Good luck to you.
She's fiery under any circumstances.
I do. I
That's fine.
will. Wait till I get into the Senate. I tell you what, I'll be giving it to both sides as well, and the Greens as well.
Listen, I'm all in favour of people.
I think you're privileged.
Oh, don't worry about that.
Get up and walk.
Don't worry, I've given out a fair bit myself over the years. But look, when you were here last, before the election, you did talk about cutting, the importance of it. Now, there's a bill which is going to...
Sorry, what was that, Peter? I was talking about what?
During the election, you made the point that you were in favour of cutting spending, okay? A point that you've just restated.
Reducing the
effectively.
deficit.
Now, and obviously I agree with that. Now, before the Parliament in the next couple of 2 or 3 weeks, very soon, there's going to be one bill which includes a whole lot of cutting measures which have been supported by both the Coalition and by the Labor Party. My question to you is, now these are all, I can hold out the list of spending amounts that have been in the papers that anybody can read. You would have had a chance to see them. It was on the front page of the Australian.
No, I've been at Senate school.
Okay, well, it has been in the front page of the Australian, and so my question is, are you going to support those changes, that bill? I know you haven't read the bill, but don't tell me you want to read it first. Isn't it a matter of principle? It's a principle that you've set out.
We do need the cutting to the spending cuts in Australia. If we're going to pull back the debt, yes, it can. We can't keep going on the way that we are going on. But we've got to have policies. We need infrastructure programs in Australia to get infrastructure going, to create the jobs. The government must look at ways to get people in small business, industries, manufacturing to want to employ people. We've got to get rid of the red and green tape. We've got to stop the Greens from shutting down jobs in Australia, which they are doing. So there's a lot of avenues. We've got to look at the welfare bill that we have. We can't keep going with this welfare mentality that we have in Australia.
Yeah, but it's a fair question. It's a fair question.
Lot of things.
But it is a fair question to ask. The Prime Minister has already said there's going to be a bill. It's going to have a whole lot of cutting measures into it, which ones were agreed during the election by Labor and put up by the Coalition. I just want a simple answer, yes and no. Are you going to vote for it or not?
No, Peter, I can't, because I haven't sat down and spoken to the rest of my 3 senators with regards to this. In all fairness, I'm not going to give you an answer yes or no here until I have a chance to speak to my senators. That's it. They were also voted in their states. That's in all fairness. Now, I will look at it on a basis of, is the whole bill in general going to be passed through the Senate in one? Or
yes, it is.
Are we
it's already been stated.
Yes.
It's going to be that way.
Yes.
Yeah, clear as day.
So there you go. So what's going to happen is maybe there are a couple of issues in there that I don't believe should be passed all in one.
Right. So
until I actually sit down and talk we need spending cuts. I'm not a person. I believe in value for the taxpayers' dollars, and we need to make sure those dollars are spent correctly. We have been overspending in our country. If we don't rein it in now, we are going to have future generations paying back a debt.
Both of us agree with that.
In general, yes, I do agree with the spending cuts, but I need to actually have the full support of my other 3 senators.
Okay, what about industrial relations? Pauline, when you were here last, we talked about the ABCC. We know that's going to be a major bill. You said at the time you obviously wanted to have a look at it. One of your senators, as you know, is in the same HR Nickel Society as Peter is. They're both in, which of course has a strong view about these matters. So how will you determine whether you and your colleagues vote for the ABCC legislation?
Well, Peter, to date, we've had meetings with Michaela Cash. We've actually had meetings with the CFMEU, the other unions as well, the Master Plumbers Union. We've been Townsville, so we've sat down and had meetings with unions. So I'm trying to get an open debate and knowing both issues and their concerns about this bill. We're actually putting into practice now what we're wanting to do, first time ever, is to actually have a round-the-table discussion from people of all sides, unions, government and independents and myself, to actually streamline this discussion so that the public are going to come in with us and they know what this is all about. And I think it's very important. Whatever I do in this Parliament, following my Facebook page or whatever, is bring the public along with me on this journey so they know what I'm voting for and why I'm voting for it. And I think that's very important. I want the people to know why I make these decisions.
Okay.
Well, I would have thought on workplace relations, particularly the ABCC, I mean, it's been up before the Parliament on numerous occasions. We've had a double dissolution. I mean, how many times do you have to go over some of these things when It's been in the public arena. People have been able to read it. We all know it's just about whether we're going to have lawlessness or not. Why
Peter,
can't we have a straightforward decision?
You were heavily involved with the unions, and I remember that going back in 1996 or 97, whatever it was, when we were in there with the unions on the wharf. We have 1.8 million people in Australia that are associated with the unions. Now, they have a right to have someone who is going to represent them as well, in all fairness. Now, I'm not saying whether I, at this stage, agree with the ABCC or not. I want to make an informed decision to bring the people along with me that they know I'm not going to be railroaded by the government or by the unions. My opinion is going to be based on what I think is right for the people and the future of this nation, that we will move ahead and we will create industry and jobs.
Pauline, one final thing. The Section 18C of the Racial Discrimination Act, which is now being debated, as you know, there's arguments within the coalition. There's a big debate about it amongst some of your Senate colleagues. Do you have a view on that yet? And if you haven't, how will you determine your view if that comes before the Parliament?
It does need to be addressed, Peter. It's just ridiculous to say whether you feel offended and intimidated, and there's full views to this.
Yeah.
It is ridiculous that you can't have a say or have an opinion. To say that you're offended, my God, you know, if someone says, all right, I'll put a case in point. So if you're sitting in the car and someone doesn't open up your door and says, does open up your door, well, you're offended by it, or if they say, you know, some stupid little thing you're overheard and you're offended by it, get over it, people. For Christ's sake, everyone's supposed to can have an opinion. Political correctness is shutting us down of freedom of speech. I believe that we have and should have a right to have a say. I don't fully agree with the Racial Discrimination Act of 18C. There are going to be private members' bills introduced into Parliament by Corey Beattie, and I believe one of the other senators is
Bob
also
Day.
going to put a bill on
Bob
for
Day,
Parliament.
will be too.
And yes, I will be looking at that, and I support them on it. We need to be able to have open debate.
Okay.
Good on you.
Well, Pauline, we look forward to you coming back on future occasions. I know you gave us a good answer in relation to preferences in Queensland, because you will, in my view, determine who governs there. And I know you'll give it a lot of thought between now and then, but we'll talk to you about those and other issues. So good luck with that. What's the course called? Is it an indoctrination course, or is it a preparation course in the Senate? What do you call?
Senate school.
Senate school. All right. Well, good luck with Senate school.
Yeah, look, it's been great.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thanks,
you.
Pauline.
Thanks so
everyone.
much.
Take care.
Bye.
We'll be back in a minute.